Fight fans, welcome to the special edition of a live big fight recap only on ProBox TV, the boxing channel. We are going to go live immediately and get the decision of that huge fight between JAMAINE Ortiz and TEOFIMO Lopez. We want to send us your comments. And remember, this is your show, so the comments will drive the show. George and Chris, this has been an unbelievable fight. Certainly very surprising with TEOFIMO Lopez and JAMAINE Ortiz.
Chris, Kriegel's got it 114-114. I think I'm being generous. I have it a draw, but I could see a lot of people thinking we got a new champ.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting decision. George DeMatteis, you said that, this is very surprising. I don't know. I mean, we've all been talking for weeks about how good JAMAINE Ortiz really is. And we've said that even if TEOFIMO shows up at his best, he still has a tough guy in front of him. And I don't think TEOFIMO did show his best tonight. He showed some flaws, but he really put a strong effort in the last half of the fight. JAMAINE Ortiz was not busy in the second half of the fight. Started out really, really good. So that's what's going to make this decision very interesting. Very interesting.
I mean, we're live, so it's going to happen in a matter of moments. I mean, obviously,
I keep looking over to my TV like
this could be the upset of the year. It's early in the year, but if we got a new champ, this is a huge upset. And once they get the decision, we really have a lot to break down, because it was a strange fight. Tim Bradley, Chris, kept saying Lopez can't cut off the ring.
Yeah.
Why can't the man cut off the ring? He's a professional fighter, and why was he doing the same thing over and over?
This is why, because TEOFIMO Lopez is a natural counterpuncher, and he does not stalk well. You saw that tonight. He could not cut off the ring. If you watch his footwork is actually poor when he's going forward. He goes one foot to the other. He brings his feet together as he steps forward, step forward. As reactive and athletic as he is with his upper body movement, I mean, his defense was great. He didn't get hit with a lot of punches at all. His reactivity, his speed, his explosiveness with his upper body movement was fantastic. But his feet, this was a battle of footwork tonight.
Yeah.
And in terms of the battle of footwork, he lost. But this is not just a battle of footwork. It is a boxing match. I had it even going into the 10th round. It really came down to the last two rounds for me. I thought Teo won both. So I got TEOFIMO up 116-114, but I would not be surprised, George, if I saw 114-114. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw 116-114 the other way. So
yeah,
we're in that kind of fight.
And to your point, I saw it too a few times. Lopez stumbled coming forward. Yeah. His footwork was so bad, and you're right, he's so bad at being the aggressor. He's out of his element, and Ortiz played on that and capitalized on that, and he frustrated him as early as the third or fourth round.
If TEOFIMO wins this fight, Ortiz gave the fight away in the second half. He just did not throw enough punches. He looked so sharp early on. His offense was good. He was landing punches. Landing punches on the overzealous TEOFIMO Lopez. Once Teo got his rhythm, we spoke about that for the last couple of weeks in terms of all of our big fight previews. TEOFIMO Lopez is a rhythm fighter. Once he finds his rhythm, he's a very, very difficult guy to deal with. But Ortiz, even once Teo found the rhythm, was still good at evading the offense. And he just was not busy enough. TEOFIMO found the rhythm. His defense was fantastic. The upper head movement, the slipping and sliding. He got hit very little tonight, TEOFIMO Lopez. So, like I said, in terms of if Teo wins this fight, something he said earlier in some of these interviews is kind of indicative. He said that JAMAINE just doesn't have that champion gear, that next level pedigree where he steps up and wins the fights that are close. That could come back to be very prolific if that's the case, because that's what it seemed like to me. It just seemed like JAMAINE had the fight. I mean, I had a 5-1 at one point. 5-1 in the 6th round. I had it for Ortiz, and I didn't give him a round after that. I did not throw enough punches.
Ortiz did the same thing I thought in the Lomachenko fight. He slowed down in the championship rounds, and I thought that's how he lost that fight. But
in the Moran
George,
fight,
we're going back to you.
Well,
it looks like
he pulled it out.
Looks like we're going to a decision. George, it took a long time to get to this decision, by the way. That's usually a bad sign for the champ.
Yeah, it certainly is. Let's Just a reminder, Ricardo Celis is also going to be has boots on the ground there in Las Vegas, and we'll try to get some words from TEOFIMO Lopez. But here's TEOFIMO Lopez talking about ProBox TV.
What's up, everybody? It's TEOFIMO Lopez, The Takeover, and you're watching ProBox TV on the boxing channel. Let's go.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing the decision here of this fight for the WBO Junior Light Welterweight Championship. And Chris and George, I'm as anxious for this decision as anyone else because it is really a very close fight. I can't wait to see how the judges score this fight.
Yeah, we're looking at CompuBox right now, and we can see the total punches landed. It's very, very close. Man, you can cut this anticipation with a knife.
Yes.
Wow.
For your winner by unanimous decision.
Wow.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Well, the scores were 117,
Wow.
111, and 115, 113, all for TEOFIMO Lopez. Steve Weisfeld scored it 117 to 111, Chris. I thought it could have gone either way, but 117, 111. I don't know what to say right now.
Let me give a little insight on that because I was there for the Lomachenko TEOFIMO fight, and a lot of people were in an uproar that TEOFIMO won that fight. I was not. I was in the room, and the power that TEOFIMO Lopez showed that night, even with the punches that missed, he's just a very powerful guy. He's very explosive, and you need to see it in person. So I'm not that mad about that. I had a 116, 114, like I said. So 117, 111 is just one more round. And when you look at the power of TEOFIMO Lopez, there was definitely a disparity in terms of punching power between these two. There was no doubt about that. You could see that all night long. Ortiz fighting off fighting off the back foot, you're not going to hit as hard. And number two, Ortiz just doesn't hit that hard compared to Lopez anyway. And Lopez being forward fighting off his front foot, being aggressive, trying to be that guy, added to the fact that he actually is a very good puncher. You know, these judges could be looking at something that we're not seeing because we're not there. Power doesn't cross the TV screen very well. So that could be why Weisfeld saw 17, 111. But regardless, I mean, 15, what was it? 15, 115, 112?
15, 115, 113 on the other two cards.
Okay, yes,
Wow.
that's 1.5.
Make sure you send your comments about this fight. It's controversial.
Ooh. Got some, George,
The crowd is booing Lopez during the post-fight interview.
Yep. I got some good comments here, George, real quickly here. Or a couple of them said, JD says, Ortiz had a great game plan. Orlando R says robbery. Loaf Up says robbery. Another one says, Rene Perez Jr. says, Teo missed the fight. I mean, there's another one, robbery. I mean, we're getting like 4 or 5 different people saying robbery because it wasn't just a split. It was a unanimous decision in favor of Lopez. CE Fashion Magazine TV says, see why Lopez don't want Haney. So there are a lot of people here. Robbery is a word that keeps coming up. Robbed, Ortiz was robbed, Ortiz was robbed. That is something that is coming up frequently on the chat here on ProBox TV's YouTube channel. Leave your comments there. Robbery.
Every close fight's a robbery these days. Get over it, guys. Relax. It's not a robbery. It was a close fight. The kid didn't throw punches in the last 6 rounds.
Well, that's the point, Chris. I think you made a great point that he did what he did against Lomachenko. He wasn't busy enough at the end of the fight. It's a 12-round fight. It's not an 8-round fight or a 10-round fight. It's a 12-round fight. And he wasn't busy enough. I mean, I had it to draw 115. I guess it's the 117, 111 that's really bothering everyone because 115, 113 you can see. But we're digesting this, but this was not a good showing for Lopez. This was not an entertaining fight, Chris.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, Ortiz didn't take a forward step. So if you're gonna, I'm not trying to point blame here. It wasn't a great fight. Ortiz had a game plan. And and it was a good game plan. It frustrated Teo, and it made for a very close fight, much closer than a lot of us expected, much closer than I expected. I thought there was going to be a lot more action, but there wasn't. You know, Ortiz went to try and win the fight rather than win the crowd, and I understand that. And we spoke about how good he actually is. He definitely showed his ability tonight. But I'm telling you, man, if like I said before, if he lost this, if he was going to lose this fight, he gave it away. He needed to do more in those championship rounds. And exactly what TEOFIMO said. He's not that, he doesn't have that championship gear where you step it up a notch and you close the show, you win that last round, you push for it. Those last two rounds, I mean, the last round he definitely didn't win. And that's something that TEOFIMO actually does really well. He did it against Lomachenko. He pushed for that last round. He did it against Taylor. Like, he pushes to get that last bit of juice out of the squeeze. And Ortiz didn't do that. And he fought a great fight. He had a great game plan. He executed throughout. But in my eyes, man, he just didn't do enough. And I hate that saying, you got to beat the champ. That's bullshit. You don't have to beat the champ.
Bullshit.
You got to win the fight. Yeah. But you got to throw punches to win a fight.
Right. That's like an old school mentality where the champion, like, you have extra points when you start the fight.
It's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing. And it was look, you can't sugarcoat it. It was a lackluster fight. For as much as Lopez talked, he's been talking about every other fighter except Jamaine Ortiz that he wants to fight, Terrence Crawford. But you have to show it in the ring. And tonight was not a good night for him. Yeah. Now, Chris, I'm still baffled that he looked so poor as the aggressor. He was frustrated early, visibly frustrated, yelling at Ortiz at times. It was baffling to see that a guy as seasoned as Lopez has these kind of problems. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that say Ortiz won this fight, and rightly so. It was a close fight.
Is he seasoned, though? Is he really that seasoned? Because he showed the same thing against Kambosos. He was frustrated before the opening bell, and he fought that way the entire time, and he made zero adjustment in that fight. Zero adjustment. Yeah. So he made zero adjustments in this fight too. He just was more aggressive. He just did more of what was not working, and then Ortiz gassed. That's really what happened here. If Ortiz had kept up the pace that he put in the first 6 rounds, he would have won this 10-2. He didn't keep up the same effort as he went. Lopez made no adjustment in terms of trying to cut off the ring. He was following him in the last round. He is a intuitive counterpuncher. That's where he's best. That's why he was waving in Ortiz at times, but it just didn't work. Ortiz did not bite. He didn't take the bait, and he kept moving and kept sliding and slipping and countering. But like I said, man, you got to throw punches. And toward the end of that fight, he just was not active enough.
Chris, when you talk as much as Lopez, I mean, he's a magnet for criticism, because when you talk all that shit and you don't back it up, people pile on you even more. So I'm like you. I don't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a draw, but the 117-111,
that bites your ass. I get it.
All right, we got Ricardo Celis. George, why don't you intro Ricardo? He's on the ground in Vegas.
Yeah, so Ricardo Celis, our compatriot from ProBox TV Espanol, is in Las Vegas. Ricardo, what did you make of the fight? It's a controversial decision, unanimous decision in favor of Teofimo Lopez. How was it in the arena, especially with the reaction to the decision?
Hey guys, it's a pleasure being here with you guys here on YouTube and ProBox in English. It was a lot of people here, a lot of the fans here at Michael Ultra Arena. They're very frustrated with this fight. A lot of people, when they were booing Teofimo Lopez, especially Jermaine Taylor, and we all know that for a good fight to happen, we need two to tango. And unfortunately, Jermaine Ortiz, he was constantly just looking for the counter punch. He was just looking to run all the time. And I think it was a very ugly fight. A lot of people were happy with this fight, guys.
Yeah, I agree, Ricardo. I know you're in the arena. You probably weren't scoring the fight, but what was your sense when it was over? Who do you think won it?
I thought it was a lot closer than Steve Weisfield. He had the fight 117-111, I believe, and the other two judges 115-113. I had a 115-113 also. I had it a lot closer. And when Bernie Osuna was interviewing Teofimo Lopez at the end of the fight, Teofimo Lopez, he was very frustrated with the reaction of the fans. He was expecting to give more of the action, but unfortunately, Jermaine Ortiz didn't want to put the fight. He was just looking for the counter punch all the time, and it was kind of boring, man.
Well, I think there's no doubt, Chris. We were saying this. It was a boring fight. There was zero excitement. The only excitement was whether or not we had a new champ, Chris, and Lopez retains his title.
I mean, listen, it wasn't the fight we were expecting. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a boring fight. I was watching very intently because it was high levels, a lot of boxing IQ. Both guys very athletic, very explosive, and I was looking at this like, all right, well, Ortiz needs to step this up. I'm sorry, Lopez needs to step up here and see how he's gonna close this gap. Because like I said, I had a 5-1 going in, after the sixth round. So I was like, man, but he dug in and he found a way. And like I said, I mean, I don't know. I think I actually blame Ortiz for losing more than Lopez winning, in terms of how this fight ended up.
Yeah, I'm looking at my scorecard. I had it 4-2 for Ortiz after 6. So it seems like I wouldn't say he had control of the fight, but I thought he was up halfway through. I don't know. I mean, moving forward for Lopez, a lot of people think he's the top fighter at 140, arguably. But now we move on. I mean, I don't know if he's going to still call out Terrence Crawford because he's got a lot of people in his own division to fight.
Yeah.
Just looking ahead, guys like Devin Haney coming off this fight, how does he look against a guy like Devin Haney?
I don't think you really can be. I mean, you got to change your whole script now in terms of who you're calling out. You got to deal with the guys that are around you. You got to fight mandatories now. Like trying to call out for these big fights. And listen, I mean, part of this is that people don't really respect Jermaine Ortiz. We do, and we've said that on our air. He's a very, very good fighter, and he fought a smart game plan tonight. But great fighters figure guys like Jermaine Ortiz out, and they do damage, and they either get him out of there or they assert dominance. And that was not the case tonight. So the fact that Lopez not only struggled, but didn't figure out the puzzle of Ortiz is indicative of where he's going next. So you got to be really cautious about who you're calling out. You can't look at a Devin Haney now. You can't call out Terrence Crawford at all. You're not in the same stratosphere. The good thing is you still might get those fights because now you've shown something. You've shown an issue. Look, hey, look at Regis Prograis. He was the boogeyman of the division, right? The Rougarou. Had a tough fight. Couldn't walk a guy down. His next fight against Devin Haney.
Yep.
Got schooled.
Hey, sometimes bad performances work out in your favor and you get good fights. What you do with that is a whole nother thing.
Well, Ricardo said that a lot of people in the crowd were booing, and a lot of people thought that Ortiz was running. Now, I saw a lot of movement, but if you watch the fight, I hate to say if you know boxing, but if you know boxing, he was counterpunching, he was jabbing, he was boxing. Yes, he was moving a lot, but what do you say to people who say Ortiz doesn't deserve this fight because he ran, all he did was run? Is that like a casual way of looking at the fight?
There's a book I want you to read. It's called Boxing 101. Go look at what boxing is. Lateral movement. The guy was not backing out. He was moving laterally. He was firing. He was changing angles every time that, and also his defense was stellar on the inside. He was rolling, slipping, sliding. The movement there he was doing where he was rolling undershots and then pushing Lopez off and then getting back to the center of the ring. It was beautiful boxing. I mean, again, I like a guy who's busier. Listen, I was a boxer. I moved with my back foot. I fought my back foot. I threw jabs like nonstop. I was a volume puncher, even though I was a boxer. Ortiz was not tonight. He was very economical with his punches. And when you got a fight where there's not a lot of punches landed, you're gonna lean towards the guy who's either being aggressive or landing the harder shots. Both of those categories were filled by Teo. Teo's a harder puncher. You could see it all night long. Teo was the guy coming forward, and a lot of people are gonna look at that visually. That's the guy who's winning the fight. He's making the fight, trying to make the fight. So if you're not throwing on top of that, you're going to lose these rounds.
You know, I said something before that he was seasoned, and you checked me on that, and it's true because when you think about Teofimo Lopez, the way he fought Cambosos, he came out like he wanted to rip his head off, and almost he looked angry early on, and he got dropped in that first round. Same thing in this fight. He looked
At times,
angry,
yeah.
yelling at his opponent, and it was not. You could tell he was visibly frustrated. So, you know, at this stage of his career, he's still easily frustrated. He doesn't seem like he can handle his emotions in a fight because this is another fight. Yet he can do it against Lomachenko. Yet he can do it against Josh Taylor. So it's the enigma of Teofimo Lopez. And, you know, he said at the press conference, he said, I wrote it down. He said, I'm the big clown of the sport of boxing. He also said to us in the interview that, you know, you never know what you're going to get when he fights. And it's true because you would think coming off the Taylor fight where he was so dominant, he would want to keep that going. You want to look good in the best division in boxing. And he did not do it tonight. He got the win. But Chris, again, he showed a lot of flaws, including, I think, not being able to handle his emotions. And I think about your career, your fight with Provodnikov, getting dropped twice in the first round, getting your face blown apart. You kept your cool. You never deterred from your plan. And you had 11 more rounds with a killer, and you became champion that night. Teofimo Lopez doesn't seem to be able to harness that, and I don't understand it.
He does and he doesn't. At times, like you said, he dials in and he puts on a Lomachenko or he puts on a Josh Taylor. And then some nights he's Sandor Martin. Some nights he's Jermaine Ortiz. Some nights he's what was it, Nakatani that he fought?
Yeah.
And he had trouble with. Some nights he's Richard Comey. He is an enigma, and you don't know what you're going to get. And I think a lot of that has to do with exactly what you said, the emotion, the control of it. And we had that clip of Bob Arum earlier this week saying, I think that, you know, Teo is more mature now, and you can see that the way he's acting. I don't know if that was true. It's obviously not. And I also said that I don't know if that was a good thing, because I don't know if really dialing it all in is his way. He's a volcano. He needs to be. I called him Teo, the Tornado Teo recently, and it's really what it is. When he's in the eye of that storm, he's something special. But otherwise, I mean, he's all over the place, and he's creating havoc even for himself. He's an enigma. That's the best way to put it.
The headbutt, I think, was the 7th round. Do you think it was intentional or unintentional? It didn't look, because some people, I've seen some comments, some people think that it was intentional, that Lopez was just frustrated and it was an intentional headbutt.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I didn't think so, but that's
if you
another
look at the replay, you got a southpaw versus orthodox, and he's throwing a right uppercut as a counter. He threw the uppercut. He just misses. A beautiful shot. Just misses the shot, and the heads came together, and they slid across his eyebrow. That's one thing about uppercuts. I mean, I fought a couple what I called billy goats in my day, the guys that really led with their heads. And you're supposed to use uppercuts against them because they're bent over and they're coming forward. Problem is, though, if that uppercut is a little too wide, you eat their head in the middle of your face. And I got because of that. So what happened?
All right. Well, George, I know you got some comments. So people, get your comments in. I'm dying to hear what people are saying about this fight. Remember, Lopez has such a mouth that a lot of people are just, I'm sure they're firing off against him right now.
Yeah. Well, we got a super chat here for $2 from Peel the Onion Slowly. So thanks very, very much, Peel the Onion Slowly. Remember, hit us up on the super chat during the chat here. And they asked, and I think you just answered the question there, was the headbutt intentional? That's the question there. And I don't think it was. What do you guys think? Was that a headbutt intentional?
Yeah, Chris, pretty much. I mean, you can answer it again, Chris, but
nah, if you watch the clip, that's a normal incidence for a headbutt when you've got an orthodox or a southpaw in terms of guys throwing an uppercut. It wasn't like Victor Ortiz trying to literally headbutt Floyd Mayweather when they're in a tie-up, or a guy who's getting underneath and then coming up. A lot of times when you see guys who are intentionally headbutting, they're doing that, or they're knocking the side. It wasn't that at all. It was literally in the middle of a punch.
Yeah. Another comment here from Tim Drodzowski. I hope I said that right, Tim. Teo has to move on from his father as a trainer. I don't know if he is getting tactical. Oh, I just had it here. I'm sorry, Tim, but he said basically saying that he has to move on from his father as a trainer. That's kind of that's interesting. That's interesting there, what he said there. And then Shakur Stevenson on Twitter said, Teo is Teo frustrated and is losing this fight. Very interesting what Shakur Stevenson had to say there. One more comment before we move on here. Uncle Jack 3328 says, matchmaking can make a guy look like a killer or a novice. Nothing more important than matchmaking in boxing. But let's go back to the tweet there by Shakur Stevenson, because in the middle of the fight, Shakur Stevenson tweeted out, Teo frustrated and he is losing this fight. I think a lot of people might agree with him there.
I'm looking for the follow-up, but I don't see a follow-up. But Chris, something that George brought up, one of the comments, you know, when a fight happens like this, oftentimes the blame goes to the trainer. So Teofimo Lopez's dad trains him. You pointed out the flaws that he has, that you see, that I'm sure a lot of other fighters and fans see. So is that a fair statement to say, you know, that he should look for another trainer?
No, because at the Josh Taylor fight, everyone is saying, man, what a great pairing
Yeah,
Theo
exactly.
is with his dad. These guys are crazy like a fox. They know exactly what they're doing. And if he had a good performance tonight, we would be saying that too. He had a bad night against a tough guy and a tough style, and they're, you know, everyone's gonna blame the father. Like I said, Teofimo's style, intuitively, naturally, he's a counterpuncher. When you got a guy who's gonna move on him, he's gonna have trouble. Sandor Martin, guys, Sandor Martin, go watch that fight. Ortiz studied the Sandor Martin style and utilized it very, very well, and was doing excellent in the first half of the fight, and fought his ass off, had a good game plan. Teo didn't learn. They didn't work on trying to cut off the ring. They didn't work on being a kind of guy who can be a stalker.
George, you got some super chats.
Yeah, let's continue on with the super chats here. Raphael 32, $2 says, Ortiz did not stick and move. He just moved. That's one of the super chats there. And then another one has from Accordionista 509. I wonder if he plays the accordion there. He says, Shakur boxes and wins. Ortiz does it and loses, with a couple of question marks there. So a couple more. There's some interesting super chats there. And Wonka Guy Code says, and people think Teo beats Matias. Teo don't have mental strength at all. Dude will fold after 5 rounds. And then RR Wright says, but come on, a unanimous decision when Teo was barely landing. So some interesting comments there when it comes to this whole decision between Lopez and Ortiz. Don't forget, this upcoming Wednesday is Valentine's Day, so you know you want to spend that day with someone you love. But then on Friday, you got to join us here on ProBox TV for live fights on ProBox TV. Remember, it's good fighters and great fights. You can watch it on the app and also watch it on our YouTube channel. The Wednesday night fight series moves over to Friday live from ProBox TV of our event center in Plant City, Florida, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Ciudad de Mexico, 5 p.m. Pacific. Israel Picasso against Ramon Cardenas. That should be a great main event. We've had some great main events so far, and it's just starting here on ProBox TV. All right. B. Rain says the blueprint to beat Teo is out there. Haney destroys him. All right. Castor Shell says for $1.99, Ortiz did not win enough to win a title fight. LOL. Thank you guys very much for the super chats. We definitely appreciate all the support. All right, fellas, what do you make of that one there with Ortiz did not land enough to win the fight? Here is the fight stats that showed that it was pretty even in terms of copy box numbers, but in the end, Lopez got the result.
Well, yeah, they were almost even in punches landed. I mean, there's not much there. Look, they didn't throw a lot of punches, Chris. They didn't land a lot of punches. They weren't accurate. So there you go. You see the punch stats up there right now. Chris, I won't say it was a boring fight, but it was not a spectacular fight. It was not a scintillating fight. The only drama was, at least for me, to see whether or not we had a new champion. You know, it's funny. the comments again. I said this before, but Lopez talks so much. He just talks so much that when he has a fight like this, and the funny thing too about boxing, Chris, which you know, you're only as good as your last fight. Anthony Joshua, people were rightly so dumping on him because he did not look good, and then he returns to form suddenly against Valine, and people are saying, okay, this guy's a killer again. He's a killer again. Yesterday, Lopez was one of the best fighters in the world, maybe the best fighter at 140. Today, he can't beat Haney. He can't beat Matias. So, you know, Chris, you're a fighter, man. You are only as good as your last fight. And for Lopez, his last fight is not a good one.
No, I mean, his last fight before this one was a great one.
Yep.
But he took too much time off. He feigned retirement or retired, whatever that means. He did listen, he does his best when he's active. So when he fought Taylor, he had 2 fights pretty close to that. He had the Sandor Martin fight, which was a not good performance. And then he fought Campa as his first fight at 140. And they were within a year. He fought Campa, he fought Sandor Martin, and then he went right to Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor had been off for like 18 months. So when Teo is active, he's better because he's a rhythm fighter. He's a counter puncher. When he is active, he's a better fighter. He was not active coming to this fight. He took too much time off. He came in against a guy who was very, very hungry and had a game plan and stuck to it all night long. So if we learn anything from here, Teo, please get back in the ring soon and make everyone forget about this performance. This is one of those win now, look good tomorrow.
But Jermaine Ortiz, the way he fought, there's no doubt he showed against Lomachenko that he's a world-class fighter who just came up short. It happened again. But moving forward, is this the kind of style that other fighters are going to want to say, hey, man, I want Jermaine Ortiz? You know, sometimes you lose a fight, but it leads to other big fights. Are guys going to be willing to want to jump in the ring with Jermaine Ortiz?
No, not at all. And I had said this in one of our pre-fight shows that I expected Lopez to win, not this way, but I expected him to win, but I expected Ortiz to be challenging and be competitive and make it a good fight. And I hoped and I thought that people were going to see how good he really is, and the world would be now understand what kind of fighter Jermaine Ortiz is, and he would get some big opportunities. He went the opposite way. So he fought a good fight. He was very competitive. He loses a razor-thin decision. Now nobody's going to want to touch him with a 10-foot pole. And that's not just other fighters. It's going to be promoters. They don't want a guy who's going to move for 12 rounds and make it difficult and make it so we're landing at 20%. Oh, good. You got good defense. Oh, you can laterally move. Cool. I'm not picking you for my next guy. Nobody wants to take that risk against a guy who can do that for 12 rounds. If he went out there and fought his ass off and then lost even more convincingly, he would have gotten more fights. This is going to be a hard sell now. He's a dangerous guy, and he's not going to be exciting.
Well, George brought up
that he could choose not to be exciting.
Right. George brought up February 16th, the next Friday night fight for that week, but
Wednesday night fights on a Friday.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. There'll be 2 or 3 fights on that card that will be better than what we just saw in terms of action, and that's not selling ProBox TV. That's just the truth. Jermaine Ortiz, he just didn't endear himself to fans, and it's not about. You know, it's funny because I think the main thing for a fighter, you always want to win, but you want to entertain as well. He clearly was not trying to entertain. He was trying to win, and I respect that. But the fans were booing. And like you just said, Chris, he didn't endear himself to the fans. I don't think people are going to be climbing over themselves to fight him or to see him fight. But he is a damn good fighter, and he's a skilled fighter. And I don't know. I think he's going to watch this, Chris, tomorrow, and he'll probably cry because it seemed like he had the fight. Again, it wasn't dominant, but you had it 5-1. I had it 4-2. We don't have the scorecards. We'll have them tomorrow to see how the judges had it. But there was a point in that fight where if he had turned it on somewhat, he may have won this fight. I don't want to say easily, but he didn't. He fought the way he did, and this is the outcome.
you brought up the point about my fight with Pronikov earlier when I won the title, and then you just made another good point. And I remember saying about that fight that no matter what, I didn't want to wake up on Sunday and thought I could have done more.
Mm.
And to your point, I think Jermaine Ortiz is going to wake up in a few hours and be like, I could have done this in that round. I could have done that in this round. And that's a tough pill. That's a tough pill to swallow, because all the things we're saying about Jermaine Ortiz, if he won one more round on 2 of those judges' scorecards, he looks like a damn genius tonight.
Right.
He put out an excellent game plan. He did it. He pulled the title from the champion. He came in as the huge underdog and he won. We'd be cheering from the rafters for him, but he didn't. So now it's like, well, nobody wants to fight you now. And that's boxing, man.
That's boxing.
Boxing's a fickle bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, George, I know you got some more super chats.
Yeah, let's get into these super chats. Ed Soberanis, $4.99. Ed, thank you very much for your contribution there on the super chat. He says, how did Shakur win, but Ortiz lose using the same game plan? Please explain this to me. I can handle the truth, unlike Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson in the movie there. But anyway, he says, I can handle the truth. Shout out ProBox TV. Love y'all. All right, Ed Soberanis, thank you very much. Trollbaiter 20, I guess Swedish Krona says, top ranks Thursday night fights are cursed. Boring. So interesting there. And Ken Chaos 718 with the $4.99 super chat says, why didn't Teo use his jab? And do you think he fights Shakur Stevenson the same way, just waiting for one big shot? Great question there from Ken Chaos 718. Ken, thank you very much for your contribution on the super chat. So, Chris, there's the question. Why didn't Teo use his jab, and do you think that he fights Shakur Stevenson the same way as well?
2 reasons he didn't use the jab. Number one is when he's being the aggressor, he doesn't use the jab. He doesn't close the distance with his jab. He uses his jab as a rangefinder and to set his distance. We did a great show yesterday talking about this fight, what the keys to victory for these guys, what they need to do to win. TEOFIMO sets the line. He draws a line in the sand, and he uses his jab for that. And he'll pick and prod with that, having you come and reach, and then he fires and counters. Because like I said, he is an intuitive, natural counterpuncher. He uses that jab to assert the range, and then he hits you with power shots and counter shots on the way in. Number 2 reason he didn't use the jab tonight. He got out jabbed in the first 2 rounds. The southpaw jab was coming over the top of his jab. If you really watch those first 2 rounds, there was 2 or 3 jabs from Ortiz that literally snapped the head of Teo, and he abandoned the jab after that. Plus, he's fighting a southpaw. So that's another thing, guys. I was going to say one of those other comments about Shakur Stevenson and Ortiz, and they fought the same fight. First of all, they did not fight the same fight at all. Second of all, remember that book I talked about, Boxing 101? We got to start selling this book, guys, because you guys need to read this book. You cannot understand what
we got to sell these hats and that book.
Yeah.
We got to sell these ProBox TV hats and that book.
Yeah.
Boxing 101.
Remember back they used to have boxing for dummies? We might need that.
That was kind of what I was saying without being so blunt.
Yeah, but George, you still have the bottle of hope with Tim Bradley's face on it there?
It's right behind me, man. I still got it, and I'm sure Tim is still selling it, and we can sell that to people too. Yeah, but I like to see the comments. And George, we got more. We have more super chats.
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of super chats coming in here. Let's get to them there. Big Cato.
Hey, I have one question, George.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Before you get to that, what happens to that money that people pay with super chats? Like, where does that? I'm assuming it goes to the head of ProBox TV, Gary Jonas, because he's funding all this, right? Is that the truth, George?
It goes to him, and then he uses it to get us pizza in the studio. So for during the big fight recaps, that's what it is.
Got it. Okay.
Let's get some coffee in the studio.
Yeah.
George, you don't get that. You're up in New York, up in Connecticut. So
yeah.
Right.
And maybe he could get us the Boxing 101 book as well. So we use that money there. All right, Big Cato 264499 says Teo needs to stop doing all the talking, and he does at this point. Well, let me start from the beginning. Teo needs to stop doing all the talking he does at this point. He picked apart everything and everyone leading up to this fight. And then Arthur Jaramillo, $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Arthur. Says, Chris, do you think Teo could have cut off the ring better, like Tim Bradley was saying? And there's a good question there for you, Arthur. We'll catch up with some more of this super chats. I'll hold on for 1 second, Krista. I'll get back to that question so we can get your answers there. And Nini Revelado says 34 body shots and 78 shots landed. Really? Some ESPN BS. Hopefully Matias KOs TEOFIMO instead of TEOFIMO calls him TEOFIMO. But let's go back to Arthur's question. Thank you, Nini Revelado, with the $5 super chat there. Let's go back to Arthur's question. Chris, do you think Teo could have cut the ring off better, like Tim Bradley was saying?
Better? How about at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could have
Never did
at all. No, he followed him the entire night. 12 rounds of following. Also, watch his footwork. He brings his back foot up to his front foot the whole time. Pendulum stepping, cross foot, cross stepping the entire time. The footwork. Back to the boxing book 101. Don't do that. Don't do what Teofimo did with his footwork going forward. I was literally going like the footwork is abysmal. First 6 rounds was a battle of footwork, and it was not good. The upper body head movement was fantastic. The reactions were great. Footwork was abysmal.
All right, let's get to another super chat here real quickly. Troll Bader, SEK. I'm guessing that's Swedish krona. I'm not sure. I don't know if Sweden's gone to the euro, so excuse me there. But it says $20. It says, here's some coffee money. So thank you, Troll Bader, because we drink a lot of coffee here.
We need
ProBox TV.
Boxing doesn't sleep, baby.
It sure does.
Hey,
that's right. That's right, Chris.
We got a Twitter poll out, and it looks like almost 2,000 people have voted, and 55% think that Ortiz won the fight tonight. So, you know, there you go. Hey, Chris, we're going to be talking about this tomorrow too, but before it gets too late, Keyshawn Davis fought in the co-main against Jose Pedraza. Took him out in 6. I thought he looked sharp. He took his time, and he beat down a guy he was supposed to beat down. What did you think about Keyshawn Davis tonight?
I've always been high on Keyshawn Davis. I think he's a fantastic prospect, got a super talent. But honestly, he had a guy in front of him today that was a bag of bones. Pedraza is normally very durable, is normally very slick. He's normally got great rhythm. Coming down to 135 again after 4 years at the age of 34, going on 35, bad idea. Bad idea. Especially against a young, hungry guy. He looked like a shell of himself from the opening round. So, hey, props to Keyshawn. He did what he was supposed to do, but it was basically Weekend at Bernie's standing in front of him at that point. Sorry for the very, very old man comment. No one even knows what that movie is.
I do. So
yeah,
George does too. So we appreciate the movie comments.
Our fans don't. But no, Pedraza was a shell of himself. But that's what you're supposed to do when you have those guys in front of you. So another step in the Keyshawn Davis quest to gold.
All right, well, George, you got some more super chats.
Yeah, I got some good super chats here. We have this guy's name is funny. Ross Kemp on your mama 01. 5 pounds here. So thank you very much, Ross. There, we appreciate the super chat there. He says Ortiz did a Catterall versus Taylor. Style so negative, he gave them an opportunity to rob him and nuked his career. Too awkward to match up, too boring to sell. So interesting one. Tip Bayless.
Jack Catterall did drop Taylor.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be comparing fights, but
yeah, he did.
Yeah. Tip Bayless with a $4.99 super chat says Haney versus JAMAINE Ortiz. Devin tweeted he's the king with the crown emoji at 140. Ortiz arguably just beat the lineal champ. Make it happen. Ooh, what do you think about that one there? Haney versus Ortiz as we continue to load up here on the super chats. Thanks everyone for contributing with the super chats here. And that's an interesting one. But Haney versus JAMAINE Ortiz? I don't know about that one there.
No, there's no way.
Yeah.
Chris, I mean, there's no way. Chris, I want to read. Terrence Crawford just tweeted, 44 minutes ago. Terrence Crawford said, talked all that shit about me and lost. Like I told him, focus on who you fighting, not me. Teofimo Lopez, back to the drawing board you go, chump. So there's some strong words from Terrence Crawford. Yeah, Chris, but there's the Haney and Ortiz. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Haney's not going to fight Ortiz.
Everything Terrence said was right, except for saying he lost because he didn't lose. He didn't lose on the scorecards. He didn't lose actually either, but whatever. But yeah, everything else that Crawford said was absolutely right. You can't be calling him out anymore. And then Haney Ortiz, that's the fight nobody wanted, nobody cared for, nobody's asking for. And we'll never. I mean, I think that would be looked at more negatively than positively if Haney were to take that kind of fight. And I'll tell you right now, Haney smokes Ortiz. Not saying he stops, not saying he knocks him out. He just smokes him.
Yeah.
We got some good super chats continuing to come in. By the way, we'd like to remind you, Ricardo Celis, our colleague for ProBox TV Espanol, is in Vegas. He's going to try to get words with the champ immediately in the next couple of minutes. And if he can't, then we'll get him on. We'll try to get TEOFIMO Lopez tomorrow for Deep Water. So you definitely don't want to miss what TEOFIMO Lopez has to say about this fight. And he's been very open and honest with us here on ProBox TV. So that should be interesting. But Ricardo's working on it now. So we'll see if we can get it in here on this live, a big fight recap. Let's continue with the super chats. George Cardenas, $4.99 as the super chat. And then he doesn't put anything on it. I think he just gave us a donation. All right, thanks, George.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Rudy Garcia had a very interesting quote, or a comment, I should say, that you guys have been mentioning before on some previous shows. It says, boxing needs an independent judges panel. This is getting ridiculous. All right, I'll get you. I want to get your thoughts on that comment real quick after I read this super chat here. Desiree Madera, $5. Desiree, thank you very much for the contribution on the super chat. She says, honestly, no one won this fight, which implies a draw, which I know you guys were talking about a little bit there. So what do you make about the draw as a realistic decision here when it comes to this one? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm no judge. Chris will attest to that in sparring sessions. He always rips my judging, even though, Chris, you did win the last sparring session, but I thought it was a draw. Chris, you had it for, what, 2 or 3 points? For
I had 2 rounds, which is 1 point off of what you had.
Yeah. So
you had 116 for 114. If I had given that 11th round to Ortiz, which is very close, it would have been 114, 114.
Yeah. So it's a close fight. I guess that 117, 111 really is the one that doesn't. And George, hey George, before you get to the super chats, I'm looking at the YouTube page. These chats these comments are coming in so fast. There's like 2,000 people watching the show. All I've seen that I'll comment on, Chris, I keep seeing he ran all night, he didn't do anything, and then people say Teo's a bum, he didn't cut off the ring. It's like that's the general consensus.
Boxing in a nutshell. Best boxing fans in a nutshell.
Right. So George, what do you got for super chats?
Yeah, let's keep them flowing here with the super chats. We got Marcus Thomas, $5. Marcus, thank you very much for your contribution on the super chat. He says, so where does Teo go from here? Haney? Rematch Ortiz? What you guys thought on where does Teo go from there? And then after that, we'll read Ramon Betancourt in his super chat.
Personally, I think he should take one of his mandatories, whoever that might be. Take a fight that's not a huge mega fight. Get back to being active. He needs to fight 2 more times this year. You know, we're early in 2024. An active TEOFIMO Lopez is a good TEOFIMO Lopez. Is a great TEOFIMO Lopez, and we need the great TEOFIMO Lopez because the good TEOFIMO Lopez is the guy who showed up tonight, and the good TEOFIMO Lopez leaves you longing because the great TEOFIMO Lopez leaves you wanting more. This guy leaves you wanting him to fight better. So
right.
I'd rather an active TEOFIMO Lopez because then you get those great matchups and those great performances. So yeah, I think he should be looking at potentially fighting a mandatory, potentially fighting, someone that's not a superstar type fight because tonight didn't earn it.
All right, Ramon.
Yeah, and I don't see him rematching Ortiz. I think you asked George that it was a rematch with Ortiz. Chris,
No.
I don't see that. I don't see how you could sell a fight like that.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
George,
you got more.
I don't think it's that much different either.
Yeah.
Right.
Ramon Betances. I'm sorry, Ramon, I called you Betancourt before, but it's Betances. $5 super chat. He says, I'm done with boxing. Paulie was right during his post-fight interview. Ortiz 100% won. He outboxed Lopez easily. Can you guys get Ortiz on Pro Boxing? Or I guess he meant to say ProBox TV there. So very interesting there with the super chat there. George Cardenas, $1.99. George, he's just donating money. Give us a comment. Yo, that's the second one he's dropped. The
He
super
did the
chat.
same thing. He just donated money.
He just donated money. He's going to the coffee fund here on ProBox
Well,
TV. We appreciate
I think
you,
George might have hit the beverages hard on a Thursday night watching boxing. So
Yeah.
we're the
I
beneficiary.
hope George didn't have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't.
Maybe, hopefully he's on the West Coast.
Yeah, he's still awake. Yeah, for sure. All right, Tip Bayless, another one with $1.99 says, sparring sessions. Me versus Chris / Haney versus Ortiz with the laughing emoji. So, all right, Tip trying to go Skip Bayless route there. Tip Bayless there with the curve thing. And George Cardenas finally did leave a comment there with the super chat. He says, huge fan of the show. I'm a truck driver and look forward to watching the show on my drives. Keep up the good work. Should Teofimo face Lomachenko if he wins against Kambosos? I think that's all one. Yeah. So there's and then there's another super chat here from 2 or 3, not good as 1. I don't know what that means, but all right. We appreciate
interesting names.
Yeah, some very interesting names there. So 2 or 3, not as good as 1 with a $10 super chat. So thank you very much. He says, even Mayweather stood there traded with his opponents. Ortiz just plain ran and landed prayer jabs. That's not boxing. Teo won. And then Elvis Mendiola, $5. Man, the super chats are flying in. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it. Keep it coming. I was at the fight, and Ortiz was running all night. You can't win just running. Teo won. So strong words there from Elvis Mendiola there. And looking forward to seeing what happens there.
Yeah, that's the school of thought, guys. I mean, it's like people think he ran and did nothing, and a lot of people think that Lopez, fought terribly and lost his title. So it's like those are the two sides that keep warring in these chats.
Ortiz either ran and did nothing, or he outboxed Teo the whole night and got robbed. So
right. So I mean, look, right now, Teofimo Lopez is still the 140-pound champ. That's his first successful title defense. He's still the champ. But again, Chris, he's a lightning rod. Teofimo Lopez is a lightning rod, and he brings it on himself. If you want to talk that much, and if you don't perform, he knows he's going to be criticized, but he's sensitive. And I'll have to look, before we do the show tomorrow, I'm going to go back and look at these interviews, but he looked very upset that the crowd was booing, and he was addressing the crowd. He's a very emotional fighter, and most great fighters have learned to control their emotions to some extent and not let it affect them that much. And I'm seeing a guy in Teofimo Lopez again. I said this before, but Chris, he doesn't seem to be able to harness his emotions, and it's going to cost him. It's going to cost him. Go ahead, George.
We got the flurry of super.
Wait, hold on 1 second.
Go ahead, Chris.
The bill of the card was the showman returns. So he relishes the attention. He wants to perform. He wants to entertain. So the frustration is probably from that. But like to your point, George, whether you harness your emotions or not, you got to understand what you are. And if you think you are an entertainer, if you fancy yourself an entertainer, you also got to understand the game. And I think if Teofimo took this in stride and was just like, and did the Mayweather, listen, no matter how Mayweather did, every fight was great.
Yep.
My opponent's awesome. He put on a great performance. I'm just too damn good. I won every round. I won. He blocked out everything. He understood that it was an entertainment business. He blocked out everything and so focused and lived in the gym, came out there and performed. And whether he had a good night or a bad night, because he had bad nights too, a bunch of bad nights too. He never acted like it, never showed it. He was impervious to the.
He smiled when they would boo. He would smile, and it didn't seem to bother him.
Every guy he fought was awesome.
Yep.
Everybody's great. Oh, he's a great fighter. He's a fantastic fighter because it looks better when he beats him. And it doesn't look good when you trash talk a guy and then you beat him by a sliver, and then you're talking all this trash about the guy. I'm going to do this to this guy. I'm going to do that to that guy, and then he takes you to the brink of death. So, take a page out of the Floyd book, in that sense, to be an entertainer.
Let's continue here with the super chats here. They are coming in fast and furious. Alberto Castani with $20 Mexican pesos says, We need to replace judges with AI scoring. Okay. Interesting thought there. We continue with the thing, drunken boxing. Thoughts on Lopez ring walk? Ha ha ha. $5 there from drunken boxing. And
Hey,
then,
George, it looks
yes.
like we got Ricardo is in the locker room right
Ooh,
now with
all right.
TEOFIMO.
Yeah, let's go to it. Yeah. See, let's keep running through some of these comments.
We're going to get Ricardo soon, but go ahead with the super chat.
Yeah, let's keep going with that because we got some good ones there. Ringside with LCD, Dev versus Teo is the best fight for Dev. It's out there, but I'd pick Dev to drop Teo. Him hurt badly. Maybe even stop him. All right. Ricardo, you're with Teofimo Lopez. Ricardo, take it away. You got it.
That's all defense right there. Remember Willie Pep? He won 1 round without throwing a punch. Where's that at?
Teo, when the scorecards were taking so long to get read, were you starting to get worried at that point?
Well, I just said it to Peter with Top Rank, and I said, hey, you know, if they rob me, this is because they want the Ring magazine in the hands of Devin Haney. That's it. You know, and I had to put it out there first before it happens because I'm bigger than what it is right now. I just unlocked the CFI and I'm grateful for it. And now, you know, I can drink, I can take my time, and I'll be back in the gym on Monday.
Right over there.
Teo, you said the next 4 fights you want is Crawford, Haney, Gervonta, and Ryan in that order. So if you can't get the Crawford fight, is Devin Haney the next fight you want?
These guys want clout. You guys not understand this. The moment they all get into the moment, right? The momentum. They feel the IQ. They feel the punches. They say, oh, this is real life. I don't want to get knocked out in front of the world.
Teofimo Gervonta tweeted, he said, you know, food. I talked to Tim Bradley afterwards. First thing he told me was bullshit. Just what's your reaction to
I agree with Tim. It's BS. It's all BS. What the heck they want to say? All they can say is everybody's an internet thug. You know, I'm not. I'm about that life. I've taken the blood, I've taken the sweat, and I've taken the tears. Have I not? I've done it twice already. I would like to do it 3 times to have a triple crown. So maybe then you guys and everyone behind it can give me my flowers.
Thank you.
However, it's like I'm just grateful we got the win, and I look forward to coming back again. And my next fight will be in Honduras. I will be defending my titles in Honduras.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. We have to be here. Thank you.
Y esa es la cosa, ellos quieren los latinos. Vas a pelear en Honduras. Sí, vamos a hacer la pelea en Honduras porque.
All right. Interesting development there. Teofimo Lopez saying his next fight is going to be in Honduras. That certainly is going to be an event, whether it's in Tegucigalpa or San Pedro Sula. I know that I have Honduran relatives. Anyway, let's continue with the super chats here because they're coming in. Ringside with LCD says for $10, Dev, I guess I'm talking about Devin Haney, has better reflexes, is more athletic, and his right hand is super quick. He repeatedly hurt Regis Prograis, who was known to have a chin. What do you guys think about it? Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez, and then the qualities that Ringside LCD was talking about.
I actually disagree. I think Teofimo is actually a better athlete. He's more explosive. But I think Devin's discipline is the difference. Devin is one of the most disciplined you can find out there today. Not only in and outside of his lifestyle, but in the ring. And you know, he fought Regis. Regis was a lot older. So there's that. But I still think it's a good fight.
All right. All right. Ricardo is with Teofimo Lopez there after his press conference. Here he is. Okay. Yeah, he's there. We got him. We're just trying to just finalize a little technical stuff. Here's one more super chat real quick. Leonard Smellerby, 20 Swedish krona. He says both deserve a melatonin supplement sponsorship. All right, let's hear from Teo.
You want to hold it with the thing?
Yeah, wait. We're right here with yeah, right here. Teo, how do you feel after this fight with Jermaine Ortiz?
We got the win. Definitely someone came here to fight, and that was myself. The other opposition did not want to come to fight, and they obviously showed. What can I do with a person that's racing and running? You know, it's obviously, It is what it is,
A
right?
lot of people were saying here at the Michelob Arena that Jermaine, he basically came for a marathon, man, because he was running the whole time.
Yeah, and I wanted to show the people by doing what? By stepping back and boxing backwards, and he didn't want to commit. So, you know, if they want to play that game, if people in the boxing world want to play that game, then we'll expose them in that way, that they don't want to compete. Everybody's just like I said. And to all the champions that are here on ProBox TV right now, they don't want to win. They want clout. They want to be known as famous fighters, but nothing more than that. They don't want to become champions. They don't want to sacrifice and take the blood, sweat, and tears. And tonight it showed.
You showed that you're one of the best in the 140 pounds, man. Who do you like to fight next?
To be honest, we're going to go back to what people want to say. Okay. Oh, there, we got to go down a little bit.
Yeah, Jerry's going to ask you a question. Chris.
What's up, champ? Congratulations. I don't know if, you know, I didn't expect Ortiz to fight the way that he did. Did you guys expect that? And what was, you know, did you have a plan B in case he did come out southpaw the entire time and then fight more of a boxing style than actually standing and trading with you?
The thing is, champ, Chris Algieri, listen, it's the fact that we worked on those things. We worked on the shifting. You know, I tried those things with him. However, he would like double quickly jump out the range. You know, and it's so difficult at those moments when we're shifting and trying those moments, and he's not there because he's running and trying to survive. I would understand if he was run back and then try to counter from it, you know, try to get me off the ropes or something. He didn't want to. And the reason why is because my ring IQ, my speed, my power, the moment those things come into play, they don't want to show themselves.
Hey, champ, I got a question for you. It's George. First of all, thanks for taking some time. You got your little guy with you, so I know you want to get some family time in. He's looking good. He looks happy.
Happy boy.
All right. So champ, I want to ask you this. It's something that Tim Bradley was saying during the fight. He said that you just would not cut off the ring, and that was why Ortiz was getting some of the rounds. What do you think about that? Were you having a problem cutting off the ring due to his style moving so much?
It's just, guys, it's like a man trying to grab a chicken. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. You can only do so much. I mean, come on. Even when I was cutting the ring, the guy's just ducking as low as he can and running around out the side. You know, and when we cut the ring, it's to cut that side to set up the other side. And what happens is they're not there because they don't want to compete. They don't want to fight. Listen, people could be as hard as they want on me, but until I face a real fighter again, this is the kind of events you're going to have. And it's sad to say it. I know.
Well, you said a real fighter, and people keep asking you this. But my last question is, and I heard someone say it, I didn't hear your answer. I know you're going to rest, but who would you like to fight next? You talked about fighting a real fighter. Who do you want to fight next? Are you not thinking about that right now?
Right now, I'm here to celebrate my son being here. You know, my wife and all those things, my family, everybody here. You know, my team. We're here to celebrate each other. And I'll be back in the ring Monday. I'll be back training again. This was not a fight. This was a Roy Jones chasing chicken. You know what I mean? And that's really what it was. I got to talk to Roy Jones about how we catch more chickens, you know? That's it.
All right. Well, chat, thanks. And Chris, I know you want to say goodbye.
Watch out for those overhand rights from the little man right there. He's throwing them.
That he is.
All right. Thank you, champ.
All right. Ricardo Celis doing a great job in Las Vegas. Ricardo, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you, and continue the great work out there.
George and Chris. Oh, go to Ricardo.
Hi guys, yeah, it was kind of tough trying to get wait, where is that? Right here. Okay, it was kind of tough to get Teo. There was a lot of people waiting as the reporters, but finally we got TEOFIMO Lopez here for ProBox TV. That was an exclusive. The only one that we got exclusive with TEOFIMO Lopez was us, ProBox TV.
Look at that.
I blocked his jab. I was trying to throw back there.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you very much. Ricardo Celis in Las Vegas doing great work as usual. He always does great work there. You got to check him out on beIN Sport on ProBox TV Espanol.
Hey,
you wanted to
guys.
say something, George, real quick before we get to some super chats.
Yeah, let's look at what we're doing at what time is it? It's 1:34 East Coast time. Look at what we're getting, man. We're getting Teofimo Lopez exclusively on ProBox. ProBox is no joke, Chris. It's no joke.
Sure.
It is no joke. If you keep me up this late, it must mean it must be something.
Yeah.
Chris, it's 1:34 in the morning, bro, and we're doing shows tomorrow too.
Yeah,
ProBox doesn't stop.
Hours. Guys, boxing doesn't sleep in either week.
Yeah, and
it doesn't stop. George, is there more? Is there more at 1:30 in the morning? Do we still have super chats?
oh yeah, we got a bunch of super chats. By the way,
cow.
I know you guys are really gonna get into this fight with deep water. So check it out tomorrow here on ProBox TV on YouTube. Remember it, like and subscribe as well. All right, let's get into some more super chats here. Reggie Helifino, the way he spelled it is hilarious. Says, how are fights judged? Does clean, effective punching, aggression, and ring generalship still count? If so, I give Teo the nod. And then Nutrition is Life, $5, says, funny, when Teo is asked the hard questions, i.e. Haney, Tank, etc., he gaslights. Oh, they want clout, blah, blah, blah. Get the belts out of his hands. Terrible. Nutrition is Life with those words there. And then Ringside with LCD, $20, says, I know Chris disagrees, but I just watched a more athletic Teofimo miss wildly versus Ortiz, who was able to get in and out. Turn tail all without getting caught with anything significant. I believe Dev could do way more than Ortiz. All right, Chris, he says, I know you, he says that he knows you disagree with him there. So what do you make of Ringside with LCD's point? Thank you, by the way, Ringside LCD, for the super chats.
I don't know what he means by disagree. I don't know what point of what he made that I disagree with, because I think Haney could do a lot more than Ortiz as well. So
Yeah.
for the first half of that fight, Ortiz boxed very, very well. Just didn't throw any punches. Guys, you can spin all night. You can make a guy miss. You got to throw punches to win rounds. So maybe that's what I disagree with. But
Yeah.
in terms of Haney and doing better than Ortiz, I would agree with that 100%.
So, hey, listen, I know we got super chats, but I got another Terrence Crawford post on X 2 minutes ago. He said, people got to understand the game is called boxing and not fighting. Hit and not get hit. But I guess a lot of y'all don't know what that means, because when y'all see a fighter boxing, the first thing y'all say is he's running. So Terrence Crawford appreciates the effort that Jamaine Ortiz put up. Man, I'm seeing people asking for, people are asking for refunds for who? I guess the people in the crowd.
I guess,
yeah, this is
I enjoyed the fight. The guy might call me crazy. I thought it was a hotly contested fight. I was on the edge of my seat watching as they were going. A lot of really good technical aspects to the fight. This is the problem with boxing, man. You have to be an educated observer to understand the nuances of the sport. It's a very complex sport, and which is why so many people come in, they're like, he ran, or he smoked him. He boxed the whole time. People don't understand what they're watching. That was a good boxing match. I mean, it was not a firefight. It was a tactical matchup, and it was very, very close. So anyone screaming robbery, anyone screaming that it was a snore fest and they should be, refunded, yeah, you're all wrong. It wasn't either one of those. It was not the most fun fight in the world to watch. It wasn't Hagler Hearns, but it also wasn't a terrible fight.
Right.
And I agree, but I think you got to remember how Lopez hyped things up. The showman, the way he came into the ring, he promised an explosive fight, and it didn't happen. So we were promised a lot, and I agree with you. It was definitely I love fights like this because tactical matchups are what. First of all, tactical matchups most casual fans don't like. They want to see Hagler Hearns, they want to see blood, and they don't appreciate the art of boxing. But Teofimo Lopez is, he was the showman. He was supposed to be the showman in this fight. He came out, it was like a circus leading him into the ring. He was the ringmaster, and it wasn't what he predicted. I'm sure it's not what he wanted, but he said it's because we heard him. He said it to us. It's because Ortiz ran, and that's why he said the fight turned out the way it did.
Listen, Roberto Duran didn't complain about guys running. He forced them to fight. You know, the ring is only so big. There's things you can do to cut off the ring and make it a smaller place. TEOFIMO needs to take a page out of the Roberto Duran book when you got a guy who's going to move. Listen, guys are going to do that, and they're going to do it more and more. Sandor Martin opened up that door. Ortiz read the same chapter and took a page from that book and fought that way. Other guys are going to do that too. Guys coming up who are going to fight Teofimo Lopez are going to face him, are going to utilize the same style. TEOFIMO needs to go back to the drawing board and learn how to cut off the ring and make that ring small, because he's going to come across this again.
Well, he didn't really answer the question, and we'll go to Super Chat, but I did ask him about cutting off the ring, and it wasn't really, and it's kind of hard to ask a guy questions
in a different way, you know, like, oh, did you prepare for plan B?
Right. Well, it's also kind of hard to ask a guy serious questions when he's holding his son, who he wants to spend time with. So you can't get that deep in that moment.
I mean, what kind of serious answer are you going to get?
Exactly. So,
when you're questioning someone's abilities and their, why they didn't do something that just happened 10 seconds ago.
Right. So I figured I'd give it a shot. But I know, George, we got more Super Chats.
Yeah, shout out to Ron Southall there for all his comments here. He's lighting up the chat, that's for sure. All right, let's get to the Super Chats here. We're gonna go with a flurry here. We got about 15 minutes left here on this big fight recap live only on ProBox TV. All right, let's start with King Neptune for $9.99. He says, I don't know when I'll have the chance in person. Thank you, Chris Algieri, for never giving us a terrible fight. What, win or lose, I'm old, so I got to take off my glasses for this one. Win or lose, always entertained, and it was a pleasure to watch your career. Thank you. So Chris Algieri getting some love. You got some fans there, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you. King Neptune. I like that. Good name, too. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, King Neptune. Zach for $2 says, Garcia won't run. Obviously, I think he's referring to Ryan Garcia. And then Best Pitbull Breeder says, Teofimo, in my opinion, won. At the conversation, but first of all, let me finish. Best Pitbull Breeder, $4.99 Super Chat there. So thank you very much, Best Pitbull Breeder. To the quote, he says, Teofimo, in my opinion, won. At the conversation we spoke about those times, we not going. So there you go, Best Pitbull Breeder there with a good Super Chat there. Tino Extreme for $5 says, I doubt Teo will fight anyone with this style again. He needs a fighter that will come towards him, and Matias is the perfect fight for him in Honduras. So those are the Super Chats there. And I mean, Trollbaiter, 20 Swedish krona. Again, Trollbaiter, thank you very much. We appreciate you. I think that's the third time. Trollbaiter is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He says, Teo threw as many punches as Jarrell Miller did. I guess, again, talking about the fight against Daniel Dubois, his last fight there. And then Pitbull Breeder, again, $1.99 says, Teofimo versus Subriel Matias. We put the accent on the right syllable that time. So those Super Chats are coming in. And once again, shout out to Ron Southall there for his comments there. But my goodness, we got some educated fans here on ProBox TV, and no other channel, boxing channel, is doing what we're doing here when it comes to this post-fight live reaction with chats and everything. A couple more from 2 or 3 not good as one, $20, says, Devin is not a great runner, as great a runner as Ortiz. Therefore, Devin will be there to fight, unlike Ortiz. Again, Mayweather boxed, he countered, he used the ring, he was also an aggressor at times. Ortiz was none of that. He just plain ran. So the words of 2 or 3 not as good or not good as one with those comments there. The Super Chats are flying in. Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate it. And George and Chris, I think people are still a bit surprised by the result. I know you guys have broken it down to justify the result, unanimous decision. But I think some people are still saying that Ortiz maybe should have won by maybe a split decision. Maybe it was a draw. I think the debate is never going to end.
Yeah. You know what? Real quick, Matias, Chris, that's a whole different style. Yeah, that's a whole different animal. And I think a lot of people want to see that fight. You know, if Lopez wants a guy that's going to come forward, Subriel Matias comes forward and he throws bombs and he tries to get you out of there. So that's a good fight. And I know what Teo said. Teo's on record as saying he'll beat any Puerto Rican fighter out there today, and Matias is one-dimensional and he'll beat him. But that's a damn good one dimension, and that's a fight I would love to see.
Yeah, I actually thought that Teo was going to take him on first. I thought this fight was actually going to be Super Matias because that's the way TEOFIMO operates. He looks for the toughest, hardest guys around. I wouldn't be surprised if that fight happens this year. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a good matchup. And yeah, it's one of those fights. And hey, call me crazy. I still got Teo in that fight because of the styles and the way that Matias comes forward and he's going to be there to get hit. He got hit with against the Ergashev quite a bit in that first round, and the guy completely crumbled. I don't see Teo crumbling like that. And I think he's athletic enough and busy enough and strong enough that he'll be in that fight. I love it. I think that's an all-time type matchup, honestly. And I hope it happens this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens pretty soon.
Well, we'll talk about that a little more, but we keep saying February 16th, Wednesday night fights on a Friday, Valentine's weekend. Let's take a look at what we got February 16th.
Wednesday night fights. On the next Wednesday Night Fights special, Friday edition, February 16th, Mexico's heavy-hitting Israel Rodriguez Picasso battles the Texan Ramon Dinamita Cardenas. Live from the ProBox Event Center in Plant City. Get your tickets at proboxtv.com or take your chances at the door. Wednesday Night Fights.
Be a great Friday night of live fights here on ProBox TV. Wednesday, Valentine's Day, you know, you got to spend it with your loved ones. And then on Friday, you join us for the live fights. Don't forget, about 10 minutes left here on this big fight recap live on ProBox TV on the YouTube as we are closing down on what has been very eventful in a fight that's worth talking about between JAMAINE Ortiz and TEOFIMO Lopez. If you don't know, Lopez winning by unanimous decision, very controversially. All right, let's get to these super chats. P-Rod, $20 says, TEOFIMO lost and cried knowing it. And Freeze Temp at $4.99 says ProBox TV, and then a fire emoji, the okay emoji, the check emoji, thumbs up emoji, a bunch of positive emojis. Freeze Temp, $4.99. Thank you very much for the super chat. We have Pitbull Breeder, again, the $1.99 says, it is boxing. Sport fans don't like runners. There you go. A. Diaz and Andy Diaz. All right, I like what you did with the ampersand and the Y. Andy Diaz, $5 says, Chris, respect you and your boxing contributions, brother, with the glove, the boxing glove emojis. And Trez, or 3Rez, $1.99. I got to get better at reading the names of you guys. Fact is, Teo won. Bradley is a hater, and so is Shakur. And one more from Best Pitbull Breeder, $1.99. Terrence Crawford is the real Pitbull. Ooh, Alex H for the $1.99 says Shakur and you see, got Honduras on my mind. Shakur and Ortiz should run a marathon together. And it's funny because his logo is Olimpia. If you know anything about Honduran football, Olimpia, Marathon are arch rivals. So that's kind of ironic there. And a couple more super chat. Man, they are flying in. Lex Parker, $5. Ortiz might have outboxed him, but his violence level was very low. But Teo was also acting like he lost. The Zach, $5 said, can you bring some pro box fights to Seattle? Ooh, that would be nice. Seattle is a great city. And Kevin Guevara, $4.99. Ortiz could have won if he was more offensive. You have to beat the champ convincingly. Teo is still going to be a problem for anyone at 140. Wow, it's going to be a good one. Deep waters tomorrow with this matchup, Lopez and Ortiz, and then top stories talking about it is going to be fantastic. We want to hear from you, so send us your comments and your questions on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. All right, George and Chris, these comments have been fantastic from the fans here talking about this Lopez-Ortiz fight. Is there anything else you want to add or react to some of the comments here that have been made?
Well, real quick before Chris jumps in, we'll have Paulie back tomorrow because a lot of people are probably wondering, where's Paulie? Because you know Paulie's going to have a lot to say. So, George, you just teed up the deep waters tomorrow where we're going to get deep on this fight. Paulie will be back with us. You know Paulie's going to have a lot to say about this one, Chris. We usually text each other, but he was traveling tonight, so I don't know. He'll catch up and he'll watch the fight, but we'll have a lot to talk about tomorrow. And Chris, you respond to anything before we get to any more super chats. I did see that Sean Porter did have something on X, but this was about an hour ago, so I think the fight was still going on. He said the only thing changing this fight is a big punch. If that doesn't happen, Teo loses. A lot of close rounds, so he may get a gift. So he obviously he put that out there before the fight was over. He never got that big punch, but he got the decision, Chris. So listen, the fans are speaking and keep putting your questions in, keep getting to your super chats. Chris, Teofimo Lopez, we got more super chats. Chris, it's 1:47, 1:48 in the morning, and we still have super chats coming in, George.
Man, yeah, people are up late. This has got people really excited. And I think also because we're the only boxing channel that's doing this live big fight recap. So George Cardenas, 499, says, congratulations to Teofimo. Who do you guys got winning between Rolly and Pitbull Cruz? Good question there. That's coming up soon. And then Loaf Up with $5 says, at what point do we start to question Teo's mental state? The man is crazy and should not be in the ring. I don't know about that, but well, let's get to the first question that was posed there in the super chat there. What do you make who's going to win that fight between Rolly and Pitbull?
Well, you guys should tune into ProBox TV. We've actually been talking about that.
Yeah.
If you check out our shows, we break those down. We do big fight previews. As we get closer to that matchup, we will have a in-depth breakdown with Paulie and myself. We'll probably do some in-the-ring stuff to see what the keys to victory for each fighter is. This is why ProBox TV is all you need, man. We are your boxing channel. We give you everything you guys need. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, you mentioned Sean Porter. I was texting with Sean during the first 6 rounds, and him and I are very much on the same page in terms of who was winning those early rounds. We broke off about midway through, but there wasn't that big punch, but there was definitely a shift. Once that headbutt happened, Ortiz seemed to turn into a different fighter. He was a lot less active after that. And I'm not blaming the headbutt. I'm not saying it was because of the headbutt, but that was the pivotal point in my mind where I remember things taking a different turn.
Yeah, and that was the 7th round, and the tide definitely turned after that, and Lopez ended up getting the win. You know, everyone out there at ProBox, I just want to let you know, Chris just texted me. He said, listen, can we do this all night? Can we do this till 6, 7 in the morning? Chris, no, man. We're gonna let
all the people who follow me know that I am an early bed kind of guy.
Yeah, I know you want to do this through tomorrow, but George, I think at some point we should probably end it because Chris just wants to keep going. I can tell he wants to keep going, but George, we've been at this for I don't know 2 hours now. So I don't know what more we can say tonight. We're gonna have a lot more to say tomorrow.
That's for sure. But Kat Mercer says it's only 6 p.m. in Sydney. So it's all good over here for you guys to keep going. LOL. All right, Kat. You're going to have to catch us on one of the shows later on today here because we are obviously into the next day. The super chats keep coming in. P-Rod, $5 says, Teofimo's kryptonite underestimates underdogs like Cambosis, Martin Ortiz, but only shows up against big names like Loma and Taylor. Okay. That's interesting.
Well, you know how you solve that? Just fight big names from now on.
Yeah, basically.
Just fight big names, and he'll never have that problem again.
Yep. About 5 minutes left here on this Big Fight Recap live here on ProBox TV YouTube channel. As some rando says, ProBox TV is awesome. So some rando, thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. We enjoy doing what we're doing. And Daniel
That
H.
was the comment?
Yep,
that was the comment.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So a lot of people appreciate what we're doing here on ProBox TV. And then Daniel H. says, can you watch the fight and break it down round by round?
Let's do it right now. Just cue it up, man. Chris is ready. I told you. Chris wants to stay up all night.
Long show. I already did that. I was watching very intently tonight.
Rudy Garcia says, even with the massive cut, Ortiz corner did a great job stopping the bleeding.
Yes, they did.
And keeping Ortiz in the fight.
Mike the Mechanic Basil was the cut man. That's former cut man and literally one of the best guys in the business. Him and Stitch Duran are the 2 best cut men who've probably ever lived.
Phenomenal job in the corner because that cut was never a problem.
Brickhouse Chef, who obviously is a big fan of the Commodores when Lionel Richie was with him. Lionel, he says, I almost said Lionel. Lyle, y'all talking boxing and saying can't win with movement. That's like saying I can't win with three-pointers because I won't drive to the paint. Come on, bruh. What's your response to that there?
Good. He's right. We've been talking. Listen, I hear running one more time, I'm going to lose my damn mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy didn't run.
Okay, hey Chris, he ran all night. I just want to see you lose your mind.
I wrote down.
I just want to see you lose your mind.
I got tally marks of how many guys people said run. Tomorrow, deep waters, we're gonna get into that shit.
Well, yeah. Chris, listen. People say run, but you know what people do? They also say you're a hater. If you say I think this guy's gonna lose for these reasons, you're called a hater. So people throw hater out there. People throw runner out there. So it's all part of the business, man. You're on this side now. You're not in the ring. You know, you're savvy. You know how it is now.
Well, it's like you're like, oh, Floyd Mayweather runner. No, he wasn't. He wasn't a mover at all. He literally stood in front of you. He didn't move around the ring much at all. He was not a big mover at all, which is crazy. That shows you how little people know about boxing. Oh, Floyd's a runner. When people say that to me, I'm like, nothing you say matters.
That shows you they didn't watch him fight.
Yep.
That's all it is. They didn't watch him fight. George, I think we got time, even though Chris wants to keep going. One more,
yes.
We got one more super chat, George.
Let's run through these real quick. Chris, Guadalupe Jimenez says, Chris, make a comeback in 2024. So there you go. And then California Love, ProBox TV. It's always a fun hangout, fellas. I'll be tuning in again tomorrow. And we have a super chat here, $2. Jordan Williams says, what boxer is more good looking than Chris Algieri?
Hey,
look at that, Chris.
You're a retired boxer. I've been through a whole long career too, and I still.
Well, I just got to say, what pro box personality is more handsome than me? I'm just going to put it out there. I'll just leave that one alone. Last one. We're going to close it out with this one here from Alex H. $1.99. Alex, thank you very much. He says, Ortiz said he didn't run. It was his game plan. LMAO. Yes. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And don't forget to tune in to all the shows we have tomorrow here. We got Deep Waters. We're going to have top stories. We're really going to get into this fight between JAMAINE Ortiz and TEOFIMO Lopez. TEOFIMO Lopez winning by unanimous decision on Super Bowl week. George and Chris, thank you very much. Great stuff as usual. I always love hanging out, doing these things with you guys. And we'll see you guys tomorrow here on ProBox TV. Not only your boxing channel, but the boxing channel.
There you go.